My name is Margil, and I'm here today with Shrawan Sharma. We both work for the Center for Democratic and Environmental Rights, and we focus a lot of our work on advancing the rights of nature. And I thought that I would just provide a bit of an overview of this work and then ask Shrawan to speak specifically about the work in his home country of Nepal, where we've been working to advance the rights of nature for a decade now. So the rights of nature is a movement that's grown over the past 15 years. My co-founder of the Center for Democratic and Environmental Rights, Thomas Lindsay, wrote the very first rights of nature law in the world back in 2006. We were invited in 2008 to assist in drafting Ecuador's constitution, and Ecuador is the first country in the world to enshrine the constitutional rights of nature, or Pachamama, within a national constitutional framework. And today, there are national laws, local community-based laws that secure the rights of nature, and there are also court decisions in places like Colombia and India and Bangladesh, which recognize the rights of rivers and other ecosystems. So the question becomes, what is the rights of nature, and why are tribal nations within the United States and First Nations in Canada and other Indigenous communities and non-Indigenous communities in different parts of the world looking at the rights of nature and beginning to incorporate it into their legal systems? Well, the rights of nature is very simply the recognition within laws, within court decisions, that nature possesses certain rights. And those rights include even the most basic right of all, which is the right of nature to exist. Because under conventional, traditional environmental laws that we have in place around the world today, nature doesn't even possess that basic right to exist, which is why we have environmental laws that actually legalize environmental harm. Because nature doesn't possess that basic right, and nature is treated as something other. That is to say that nature is treated as an item of commerce or property, or basically just a thing that exists for human use. And the consequence of treating nature in this way has, as unfortunately we now know, are soaring extinction rates, ecosystem collapse such as coral reefs, and of course, accelerating climate change around the world. So the rights of nature is really about creating and establishing a fundamentally new relationship between humankind and nature, one in which we are no longer the superior and nature the subordinate, and that we recognize that we're part of nature and that what happens to nature happens to us. So harm to a river is harm to us who depend upon that river. So rights of nature laws are about establishing that nature possesses certain legal rights, such as the right to exist, the right to regenerate, the right to evolve, the right to be restored, and that those rights have the ability by nature itself and by citizens and residents of different places that have these laws, that those laws are actually able to be enforced so that they're able to be upheld and guaranteed by governments and by courts. And we've seen this play out now in places like Ecuador, which has had their constitution in place for about 15 years now, in which we see that the rights of nature in their constitution has elevated the status of nature, elevated the level of protection for nature, so that activities which interfere with the ability of nature to be healthy and to be robust, particularly like fragile ecosystems and at-risk species, that they're able to be protected by the rights of nature from activities that would interfere with those rights, that would violate or infringe upon those rights. Essentially, that would cause harm to nature. And the rights of nature is protective of those places now. And we've seen key cases come through, such as Ecuador's Constitutional Court, in which cloud forests, for example, are being protected from damaging mining activities, because that would violate the rights of the cloud forest. And we're seeing these laws now expand across the globe, as more and more people, communities, countries, and even courts are recognizing that we can no longer continue business as usual in terms of the human relationship with the natural world, treating nature as just something to be exploited and used. That's fundamentally unsustainable, and we're never going to reach a place of true environmental protection if we continue to behave that way toward the natural world. And the rights of nature establishes a legal foundation to make that fundamental shift that we need in our relationship with nature. And Shrawan Sharma, who is our person working in Nepal, has been working on this with us for about 10 years now, Shrawan, and focusing particularly on the Himalaya mountain range, which is often called the third pole after the North and South poles on Earth. And it's unfortunately, due to climate change, one of the fastest warming mountain ranges on Earth. And Shrawan's been working on how do we apply the rights of nature to protect this mountain range and to protect Nepal. So Shrawan, do you want to talk a bit about that work?
Yes. Mary, first, the rights of nature in Nepal, in our town, is to protect the communities who entirely depends their life on agriculture. The impact of climate change and global warming has very immense and adverse impacts over their livelihood. In our town, in our concern, the rights of nature is to ensure the living of those majority of the population who live with the nature. That is our main motto regarding in considering the rights of nature. Particularly, I am working with the different community and professional organizations who are much serious about their own livelihood, their own living, and their income source, like the Himalayas. Those people who go to the Himalayas, they used to the porter. They are available in Solukhumbu, Taplejung, and northern frontier districts. Only those people can go to the climb the Mount Everest on other Himalayas, other mountains. Rights of nature is their basic requirement to protect that mighty Himalayas, the glaciers and glaciers lake. In our town, that is right of the nature. We are particularly, my organization and me, we are working to protect that under the constitutional framework of right of nature. For this, we are working with different segments of societies, political societies, business societies, communities. And currently, as I informed you earlier, I am working with Himalayan mountain climbers. I am working with those persons who climbed Mount Everest 28 times. What he has experienced there. He informed me that in his previous expedition, he used to pick up a piece of snow to melt it and drink drinking purpose. Now the place there is no snow, a small stream. There is running a small stream. That is the changes what climate change, global warming brought to us. That is the crisis, particularly for us, for the Hindu Kush Himalayas. To address these problems, we are working to incorporate the constitutional provision in our constitution by amending the Nepal's constitution that is made in 2015. For this, we are working with the member of parliamentarians, national parliament. We have 2 layers parliament in national level and in provincial level. Particularly, the national parliament has the right is vested to national parliament to amend the constitution. Therefore, we are working with the national parliamentarians to propose the amendment in line with the rights of nature provision. We are working with the national parliamentarians. in the meantime, we are bringing the information from various sources. Those who climb to Mount Everest and other mountains, they bring the information, and we organize the get together between the policymakers and the who has the first information. They exchange the information, what is happening over the mountains, and parliamentarians listen to them, and we are trying to translate it into the constitutional provision, Mary. We are working that.
And Shrawan, we've talked quite a bit, you and I, about the National Constitutional Amendment to recognize rights of nature, and particularly rights of the Himalaya mountain ecosystem.
Yes.
And also that you have been working closely with parliamentarians in provinces that represent the districts where the Himalaya are. Are you also finding the conversation advancing there about climate change and their impact on the Himalaya?
We are working on both issues. What is happening over the Himalayas and Himalayan glaciers, and what is happening in the other parts of the country, particularly in the hill. The changing pattern of precipitation has adversely impacted the agriculture. Nepal is agrarian economy, agrarian country. More than 70% of people involved in agriculture. If agriculture is our backbone, if agriculture is damaged, our economy will be completely damaged. Therefore, how to ensure this large portion of population that living their livelihood. This is a main focus point of the rights of nature, and we are telling them, we are trying to communicate them how the rights of nature will ensure those unfortunate farmers. This is our main topic to communicate the parliamentarians. Those persons who climb the Mount Everest and other high mountains, they bring the information. What is happening there? Snow is melting, so that the soil is not recharging. The flow of water recharging is very, very slow. Therefore, there is no water for irrigation to produce foodstuff, grain. That is the problem. How can we solve this fundamental crisis of Nepal? How the rights of nature can ensure them the livelihood and their rights? We are working in these areas, and we are trying to communicate them. If we adopt the values of rights of nature and we incorporate it in the constitution, then the government will be responsible for the communities, for the Himalayas, for the incessantly flowing giant rivers. We have 3 giant rivers, and the government must be responsible to protect these natural resources. The legal framework, legal instrument to protect it is the right of nature, constitutional right of nature. We are communicating that.
I have to say that one of the first things I learned about when I first started working with you, Shrawan, and about the impacts, particularly of climate change in Nepal, because the Himalaya forms that northern border, and so literally everything is downstream from that. And the climate change impacts, as you're saying, have the downstream impacts on particularly farmers who make up most of the economy in Nepal, and they're seeing changes in precipitation, changing in snowmelt, because of everything that's happening within the mountain range. And one of the first things that just really struck me about Nepal is, it's a very small country, as you say, and it has such a small impact in terms of its fossil fuel carbon emissions. So it has a very small contribution to global warming, and yet it's facing such big impacts. And you first told me about the cabinet meeting that was held by the government at base camp at Mount Everest to highlight the impacts of climate change on these mountains, the highest mountain in the world, and the Sagarmatha Declaration that was created there that focused on the impacts of climate change on Mount Everest and the importance of taking action on that. So this has been a dialogue that's been happening within Nepal for so long now, and the impacts are only becoming greater and greater, felt and understood. And it seems that Nepal is sort of having a larger than life sense of leadership in terms of protecting the Himalayas and protecting their people in the country through the rights of nature, because you're such a small country with such a small impact on global warming, and yet taking such a big step forward to help the rest of the world understand what's happening in your own country.
Yes, exactly. Mary, please let me go a few years back. While in 2009, our Prime Minister was traveling to New York to participate in UN Annual Assembly, and Everest climber brought a small piece of rock from Everest that was while the snow melted and the rock, he picked up the rock from Everest, and I was involved to change that rock into a very beautiful token, and that token was given to the U.S. President Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton or Obama? I forgot the name. Probably Bill Clinton, I think, in 2009. Who was the president in 2009?
President Obama.
President Obama. And I was involved to develop that rock into the small token. And I was the person to convince the Nepal's Prime Minister to give that rock to the President Obama. And since that, I am continuously working in this field. You know that since 2009.
Yeah.
From 2009, we are working together. And you are right. Not only in Nepal's Himalaya, total Hindu Kush Himalayas from Afghanistan to Burma, that is Hindu Kush Himalayas. That Hindu Kush Himalayas is equally, either that is India, Bhutan, Pakistan's all Himalayas are equally impacted by the climate change and global warming. The importance of the Himalayas is the Himalayas mountain ranges provides drinking water and water for irrigation to more than 1 billion people in people of South Asia. That is the importance of Himalayas. And we are thinking. And last time I was in Shimla, Himachal Pradesh. You probably you listen to the news what is happening in the Himachal Pradesh this year. Last year, Pakistan had a very big problem. That is the glacier burst and flood was there. And I am trying to bring the like-minded Indian friends in this regard to protect, how to protect the Himalayas. If there is no Himalaya, I have written lots of article in newspaper, mostly in Nepali newspaper, because Nepali, the wider readers is available in Nepali language. Therefore, I write in Nepali language. And the Himalayas, importance of Himalayas is to provide the water to South Asia. And how can the Himalayas mountain and mountain glaciers can be protected? What legal framework should be there to protect that?
Right. Well, I think, Shrawan, that we're probably at the end of our time together. But I think, the question of what can people do, engaging in this issue, learning about what the rights of nature is, how it can be brought forward in your own community or in your own country. And that's what Shrawan has done. He just called us one day out of the blue and said, this is very important. What can I do? And he's created a campaign from there. So there's more to learn. Our website is centerforenvironmentalrights.org. We're always available to respond to inquiries if people are looking for trainings or education or background materials about the work in Nepal or elsewhere, or about the rights of nature and rights of nature laws. We have a rights of nature law library that people are very welcome to access to learn more about this. And we're very happy to work in wherever people are interested in advancing this, understanding that we really need to make this fundamental shift in how we govern ourselves toward the natural world and how nature itself is treated under legal systems around the world. So thank you, Shrawan. I'm so happy to see you and to talk with you. And I think that might be the end of our session.
Thank you. Thank you very much.